Views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to Beyond Just Talk. This is a positive, inspirational, and thought-provoking program that discusses life and business topics from a solution-oriented perspective with your host, S.L. Young.
All right. Welcome. It's another great day, and we're ready to discuss subjects that will make a difference in your day. This is the place that people connect, ideas are shared, and lives are enriched. My name is Stacy Young. My author's name is S.L. Young, but please call me Sly. Before we get started today, next week, my guest is a man who led a Fortune 1000 company for 23 years, currently oversees strategic initiatives to maximize shareholder value, and is an author of a very important book about an individual's character. For this week, we'll recap last week's show, have a discussion with my special guest, Rowley, who is an advocate against distracted driving, and my featured guest, Bela Gandhi, a relationship expert who is often featured on the Steve Harvey television show, and we'll preview next week's guest. On last week's show, actually, my guest was William J. McBurl, who is an information assurance and cybersecurity authority, along with being a co-founder and managing principal of the mission-critical global technology group, otherwise known as McGlobal Tech. Mr. McBurl discussed information technology and the importance of IT security. IT includes the hardware and software used to create, access, manipulate, and share information electronically. Information security is the protection of IT resources from unauthorized access, systems from viruses, and research to get ahead of emerging threats, to mention a few things. Simply put, it's protecting information and systems in all of its forms. Information security is important for businesses, but it's also important for individuals to protect their personal data. For individuals, many times commercially available software can help to protect their systems by providing firewalls, antivirus, intrusion detection, and more. If you have a computer and don't have any protection on it, please get some antivirus software today. Individuals should know that any time that their system is connected to a network, there's a risk of getting a virus and someone gaining access to your system. Therefore, users should only access known and verified networks to minimize the risk that their systems will be compromised and their data potentially stolen. Also, we discussed the importance of ensuring that all of your devices are protected with a password. Moreover, if possible, users should use multi-factor authentication, which involves using more than one validation point before a computer, system, or network is accessed. Information security is a growing field due to the number of systems, threats, and the importance of maintaining safe computing environments. Anyone who is interested in IT security should know that there are different ways to obtain a job in this field. There's a technical path and also a non-technical path that will allow individuals to obtain security experience without already having technical knowledge. Individuals interested in IT security need to continue to develop their skills to be proficient by using online resources, independent study, using test environments, taking courses, and more. If anyone is interested in learning more about McGlobal Tech, please visit its website at mcglobaltech.com. If you missed our conversation, this interview will be posted to my website within the next few days at slyoung.com/bjt-radio.html. Also, my latest article submitted to the Huffington Post entitled, What If? Is a thought-provoking piece that takes into consideration the question, what if a decision you were afraid to, chose not to, or didn't make could have changed your life and others? If you'd like to have an advanced read of my article, you can access it on my website at slyoung.com/what-if.html. If you'd like to connect with me after the show, you can reach me on my website at slyoung.com or Facebook at facebook.com/beyondjusttalk, one word, or locate me on Twitter, Google+, Instagram, and SoundCloud using the handle SLYoungVA. Now, before I continue with today's show, I want to welcome a special guest, Joy Rowley, who has a business called Joy Life Coaching, which helps individuals with dealing with life challenges or transitions. She's also an outspoken advocate against the dangers of distracted driving, which includes eating, texting, and anything else that might prevent someone from paying attention to their driving. In May 2011, Mrs. Rowley's 19-year-old son, Kyle, completed his freshman year of college and started a summer job. He was on his way home after work, but didn't make it because his car stalled in the middle of the road. While pushing his car off the roadway, he was struck and killed by a distracted driver. The Fairfax County Police Department's crash reconstruction team found no evidence that the driver tried to brake to prevent the accident until right before impact. Furthermore, the driver's phone records, according to Mrs. Rowley, documented that numerous texts were sent during his drive. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, approximately 80% of all roadway accidents are believed to be caused by a distracted driver. Distracted driving doesn't only happen in cars, it can occur in boats, planes, trains, or other moving vehicles. Also, distracted behavior can happen while walking also. There are numerous incidents of videos of someone having an accident while texting, including getting hit by car. I now welcome today's special guest, Joy Rowley. Welcome to Beyond Just Talk.
Thank you, Sly, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Your story is important. The journey that you've gone on after your son's death, it's an important story to share. So how was losing your son, especially to a distracted driver, affected you?
Well, Sly, as you can imagine, it's been devastating, and it's changed my family in significant ways. The last thing any parent wants to do is to have to bury their child. But since that, it has moved me to take action. I've since become a life coach in addition to my training business, a grief support volunteer, and an activist against distracted driving. Recently, I returned from the Drive Smart Virginia conference in Virginia Beach, sponsored by Governor Terry McAuliffe. We heard from many experts, including Dr. Bela Gandhi of the NTSB, on how this has become a high on their list of public health issues. With more and more technology, we have more ways of being distracted and more accidents where distracted driving is a factor. It puts everyone at risk. As you said, whether they're driving, boating, in a plane, walking, etc. All these have been cited as a cause of devastating accidents.
And so what's being done to minimize or prevent distracted driving?
Well, Sly, the solution, as many solutions do, don't reside in one area. There's a number of different areas where we need to take action. Since you and I worked together a number of years ago, we remember how everyone smoked in buildings. Now smoking is outlawed, even in bars. So that's been a big cultural change. It took many years to change from a culture of smoking to non-smoking. A big push for safety was the introduction and use of child safety seats. Now, it's unimaginable that a child would be in a car without one. People even call the police when they see a child in a car who's not in a child safety seat. So we've really changed the minds and culture around that. Now we need to apply that idea of social behavior change to driving distracted. It's really a systems approach that we need. This means better education starting from the elementary years up through high school. Parents and all adults need to become more involved in role modeling good driving behaviors. Believe it or not, they're some of the worst offenders. We also need stricter legislation and law enforcement of penalties. This year, there's been a 14% increase in crashes. This problem has become the biggest killer of our youth. Many states and jurisdictions are adopting driver's ed programs to address this.
And so what are, if any, are there laws in the Washington, D.C. region to deter drivers from distracted driving?
Well, Sly, what's really interesting is as you and I go about our daily lives and are in our cars, we stop at the red light and we look around us. Have you noticed, how many times do you notice people texting?
Today, I saw it, and someone was holding up traffic because they were texting while they were driving down the road.
Exactly. So we know that that people are doing it all the time. We see it. And, of course, it makes me very angry. And I think that people really aren't aware of the laws. So thank you for asking that question. And I'll tell you what the laws are in Virginia, Maryland, and the district. And they're a little bit different. When Kyle was killed in Virginia in 2011, the law was, absolutely ridiculous. Texting was a secondary offense, and what that means is that you had to first be committing a primary offense such as driving while intoxicated, and then be caught texting. On top of that, to get a $25 fine. So, we know that law had no merit, and even the judge in his case agreed it. But the judge said his hands were tied, and, he couldn't prosecute because the primary offense wasn't being committed. Mm-hmm. So Kyle's killer received no jail time or fines,
That's
and the
incredible.
case was thrown out of court.
That's incredible.
So, it was so painful for us that, this person who was obviously texting, many, many times, and we had records of it, was not even given community service or anything like that. So we took some action. Along with our lawyer, who is State Delegate Scott Serville of the Mount Vernon District, we rallied bipartisan support for a new law that passed in July of 2013 that made texting a primary offense. It's now punishable by a $125 fine for a first offense and $250 for ongoing violations. However, handheld cell use is still allowed by drivers over 18 in Virginia. Believe it or not, we'd like to submit more legislation to ban the use of handheld in Virginia, but that won't be happening, this year. So hopefully I'll be able to tell you more about that as we move through.
And unfortunately, we're not going to have time to go through the other states, but let me ask you one last question. Do you believe that distracted driving is the same or worse than drunk driving?
It's funny, Sly, but studies have shown that it's actually worse because when you're driving drunk, you're impaired, but you have a visual. When you are texting, there's no visual, so it's almost like driving blind. So it's actually worse.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there today. Mrs. Rowley, thanks for being on Beyond Just Talk to share your personal story. I'm very sorry about the loss of your son, Kyle. I applaud your strength and work to bring awareness to the impacts of distracted driving. I wish you all the best with all of your important and life-saving work. If you'd like to learn more about Mrs. Rowley's work or contact her for speaking engagements, please visit her website at joylifecoaching.net. If you'd like to learn more about AT&T's campaign against texting and driving, please visit the It Can Wait website at itcanwait.com. While you're there, you can download AT&T's Drive Mode application, which silences messages, alerts, and auto-replies while driving to let friends and family know that you can't respond because you're driving. AT&T also created a hashtag to address texting and driving, which is #ItCanWait. Folks, we're just getting started today. There's still more to discuss about a woman who makes dating and finding love positive, along with a little less time-consuming and painful. So stay tuned. As for the rest of today's show, we'll describe an effective process to obtain a date in person and online, share information about the elements that should be included in a good dating profile, provide examples of information that shouldn't be included in a dating profile, share reasons that a good profile picture is important to attract the right date, and provide information about ways to keep safe while dating. Before I introduce today's guest, I want listeners to know that if you'd like to join our conversation, you'll be able to dial 1-800-450-7876 right after the break, and we'll introduce Bela Gandhi.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Good morning. This WOL traffic update is brought to you by Zips Dry Cleaners. Accident quickly cleared New York Avenue at 1st Street Northwest. Everything there is open. 3rd Street Tunnel northbound very slow to Massachusetts Avenue. The ramp to Massachusetts Avenue from the northbound 3rd Street Tunnel is closed because of retaining wall repairs after an earlier accident. Zips Dry Cleaners uses the same quality process as full-price cleaners, but charges just $2.29 to dry clean any garment. Go to 321zips.com for a Zips near you, and visit the new Stafford store. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Noodles & Company for today. Mostly cloudy, high near 75. Gradual clearing overnight, down to 59. Tomorrow, a sunny day and a high near 81. At Noodles & Company, lunch is different. Different is made to order, sautéed fresh, one pan at a time. Different is better. Noodles & Company, made different. Right now, it's cloudy and 65 degrees in Washington, D.C. Steve Shorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
All right, folks, welcome back to Beyond Just Talk with S.L. Young. Prior to the break, we're doing the setup for our featured guest today, Bela Gandhi. So, my featured guest today, Bela Gandhi, is an internationally recognized relationship expert who is a frequent guest on the Steve Harvey television show. She's also the founder and president of the Smart Dating Academy. The Huffington Post describes her as the Fairy Godmother of Dating. Prior to launching her own company and testing her entrepreneurial skills, she was the global vice president of housewares at Caci Noble Nonstick Coatings. At the time that the Smart Dating Academy was launched, she didn't plan it. The idea for the company arose out of happenstance after she encouraged some friends to date and they subsequently got engaged. Then she had an epiphany that this is something that she was meant to do. Mrs. Gandhi is also the founder of Bela Gandhi Contemporary Art, an award-winning abstract artist. Her work has been featured in television series, Hollywood films, Chicago Home Magazine, and on display at prestigious locations such as the Merchandise Mart. She's also committed to giving back to the community. As such, she has served in an executive capacity on the board of the CARA program for almost 10 years. Now, without further ado, I welcome my guest, who is a relationship expert, a sought-after media influencer, and the founder and president of the Smart Dating Academy, Bela Gandhi. Welcome to Beyond Just Talk.
Thank you, Sly. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I am so glad to have you on. It's definitely my pleasure. So before we get started today, I always like folks to know a little bit about my featured guest. So who is Bela Gandhi?
Who is Bela Gandhi? So, your introduction was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I am the founder and the president of Smart Dating Academy, and in October it'll mark our 6-year anniversary. So we are excited about that. Mm-hmm. So I am on the personal note, I'm also a wife of almost 18 years, or actually 18 and a half years almost.
Right.
The mother of 2 children, Jaden, my daughter, who is a 6th grader, and Max, my son, who is a 2nd grader. So I've got my hands full with lots of great stuff, but life is good.
And that's great. That's great. And then, so if we dig a little bit into your background, so you worked at Arthur Andersen prior to working with your father's business, CCC. So why didn't you just work with your father from the beginning?
You know, that's a great question. I did not go into the family's business thinking I would ever do that. So I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, mm-hmm. and I studied both. I have 2 degrees, both in finance as well as I call it my accidental degree in German language. So when you're coming out of school as a U of I business grad, and this goes back to 1993, you know, the plumbest best job you could get was with one of the big 6 accounting firms. So I was ecstatic when I received an offer from Arthur Andersen, uh-huh. but to work in their specialty consulting division, doing consulting for mergers and acquisitions, which to me sounded so glamorous and so sexy, and I was really, over the moon about that job. And now, like any good 22-year-old, you get out of school, and day one, I sat in that cube at Arthur Andersen. It was September 20th of 1993, and I quickly started to realize, wow, there's probably better people than me to sit here and work on a Lotus Notes spreadsheet and do DCF analyses on company valuations. And, while I liked the job, I sensed this wasn't right for me. And every month during a family dinner, now my father's business had started growing and growing. He started it in 1984. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, "You're bored. Why don't you come and work for me?" I'm like, no, Dad, I don't know anything. It's a chemicals company. He made nonstick coatings for pots and pans. So any stores that you go to and you see coated with that black metallic or silver stuff, that's what his company was doing. Oh. So one day he finally got to me and said, "Why don't you come and work for me?" I said, "Dad, what am I going to do for you?" And he said, "Bella, don't ever ask me that question again. You're limited to your own ambition."
Wow. Great advice.
And that mulled over in my mind again and again. A week later, Sly, I quit my job at Arthur Andersen, and in September of 1994, I joined CCC.
Wow, great story. And then so that company was around, you worked for that company for a period of time before it was sold. And then so once the new company took over, you stayed on for a while. So why did you do that?
Yeah, great question. So my dad, my brother, and I were partners in the company, and we sold the company to AkzoNobel, and they are the world's largest coatings and chemicals company. So the rest of my family was happy with the sale. My dad, my mom, my brother, and they all retired. But Akzo wanted to keep me on to help them to integrate the business that we had built. We were a tiny speck. We were doing about $30 million of global revenue. But now keep in mind, this was a $6 billion company. So in kind of, in the flash of light, we could have disappeared. So they asked me to stay on and to manage and grow this little nonstick company that they were interested in. So I stayed on post-sale between 2001 and 2006 and helped them to build a facility in China, which is where most manufacturing has gone. I helped build a factory in Brazil as well, which led us to 5 total factories in the U.S. and India, Brazil, China, and Italy. So we had a very global business. So I am lucky to have seen a lot of the world, I should say. I went to 5 continents twice a year. So, but it was a really good experience to go from a family business to being acquired by a Fortune 50 company and kind of surviving and thriving in both atmospheres.
Right. Well, great. And then, so why did you leave that position?
So now let's take a jump back in time, back to when I was at U of I. I had a very good college. My great friend was my roommate, and she was really shy. And one night she didn't want to go out, so I went out and I went to a fraternity party of my now husband, and I met a guy, and I looked at him, and his name was Simon. And I'm talking to him, and I said to him, "Oh, my God," I had this bubbling feeling in my stomach. I said, "You're going to marry my roommate." And he's like, "What are you talking about? My girlfriend's literally right over there." He looked at me like I was crazy, and I did feel crazy after he said that. But suffice it to say, it took Simon and my friend Audrey, it took them 5 years to actually go out on their first date. But I told them, Sly, year over year, I promise you guys, if you go out on one date, you're going to get married.
Wow.
And so the week before my wedding, they didn't tell us. They went out on their first date, the Saturday, May 10th, 1997. They went out Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, and our wedding was their 5th date. When they got engaged 2 years later, they said after their parents, I was the first call that they made. They're like, "How did you know that we were going to be so perfect together?" And I put the phone down after that phone call. I was en route to Japan to handle some nonstick business, and I said to my husband, I'm like, "I am supposed to do this. I get how to do this. I'm going to help people find love someday." And I walked out the door.
Wow. So you just had that epiphany and you said, this is it, and I'm going to move forward. I'm going to throw caution to the wind, taking a calculated risk, I'm sure, though.
Some might call it calculated, some might call it crazy, because it took me, there were many other couples, Sly, from that point on. They were one, then there was a second and a third, and every time I would do that, and the feeling I would get after watching these people, and I'd go to their weddings, and I'd watch them get happily married and move out to the suburbs, I thought, this is what gives me so much joy, and I just felt like I understand what makes for a good relationship.
Right.
I, had gone through my own dating woes. I had gotten myself back on track, found my husband, and now I was giving people advice, setting them up, and I knew that this was this gift, and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I just kept telling myself, I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
This is crazy, and I didn't actually put my plan together until 2009 when I started the company. So it took me 10 years to do it.
And, it's interesting because a lot of folks will see someone who has success and they'll say, well, man, you're so quick to have success, but they don't realize that sometimes there's a lot of work, a lot of labor, and a lot of thought that goes into it prior to you get to that point of success, right?
Say that again? It blanked out on me.
I'm sorry. So there's a lot of work that typically goes into basically preparing to run a business. So a lot of times when you see someone who's had success, you often hear, oh, man, they were lucky. That happened so quickly for them. But they don't realize all the work that went in before that.
You couldn't have said it better, Sly. That's exactly right. So people look at you and you're, if you're on radio and on TV and they assume, you just, you're like a rocket ship and you went from A to Z in 5 minutes. But
right.
No, people don't always know. We tell ourselves stories, right, about ourselves, and we tell ourselves stories about other people and how easy they have it. But the truth is, ask every person about their journey. It's not always what you think.
Exactly, because there's a lot of dark days, there's a lot of lonely days, and there's a lot of days that you say, is this the right thing? Why am I doing this? And should I keep doing this?
Yes, you couldn't be more right. That's right. Every day is a new journey. But yes, there are high highs and there are low lows when you're an entrepreneur on your own. Oh, absolutely. Just when you thought you hit the bottom, You may not have.
You find out that it's deeper, but at the same time, you find out how strong you really are, because when you think that you hit rock bottom, you find out a lot of times that you can actually go a little bit lower than you thought.
Well, absolutely. And the key is resilience, right? Even
Exactly.
if you hit, it's what you do when you're down, right? If you can say, you know what, I've got this. That was a bad experience. That didn't go so well. But here's what I learned from it. Brush off. That doesn't mean I'm not supposed to be an entrepreneur. It means this was a bad experience. Dust off and get back up and keep going.
Exactly. And one of the things that I say over and over again is that there's always value in the journey, even if the outcome isn't as expected or wanted. You can always learn something from the journey if you look at it closely enough.
Absolutely right.
And then, so was it a difficult decision for you to become an entrepreneur, to walk away? I mean, you just said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to walk away. But was that a difficult decision?
You know, it was a decision. It was scary for me. And I'll tell you, what I feared most was I feared failing. I thought about this for so long, and I thought, what if I can't make this work? What business do I have going from chemistry to dating? Yeah, I've set some people up, so it was really overcoming what I call the mind monkeys around this. Like, can I do this? What are people going to say? What if it doesn't work? You know, and one day I sat down, and this was in 2009, and I was reading a story online, and it was a story about failure versus regret. And it touched me to the point where I started to imagine myself as a 90-year-old woman sitting on my porch, drinking my Country Time lemonade in the pitcher with, 4 grandkids in front of me, telling them a story. And I knew it could be one of 2 stories. It could be, you guys, today I'm going to tell you a story of regret, of this dating company that I thought I should have started and I wanted to do, but I didn't do it because I was scared, and I don't want you to do what I did, to sit here and regret it. Or I could tell them story number 2, which is, okay, I started this dating company and it was a total flop, but here's the fun I had out of it, and here's what I learned, and here's where it led me. And at that moment, Sly, I realized I wanted to tell story number 2, and there was no turning back after that day.
Wow. It's interesting how determination, will, and perseverance will help us to get where we want. And it's sort of interesting that you tell that story, because my latest piece that I was talking about earlier, What If, basically says that sometimes, what if life really isn't about the decisions that we actively make, but what if life and achieving our direction, passion, and purpose in life is more related to those challenging times or challenging decisions that we sometimes don't make, can't make, or just are afraid to make. And sometimes we just need to face that head on, and then that can help us to maybe experience things that we might not have otherwise done if we deal with the fear. And a lot of times fear is just that emotion.
Fear is just a feeling, right? And fear is a misuse of our imagination. Mm-hmm. Right? I worried about failure. I worried about what would people say, what my parents say, what my brothers say, what my friends say, what my husband say. And at the end of the day, all they said is, go forth and conquer.
Exactly. And, sometimes we get too caught up in what other folks are saying, or other folks will put their limitations on us, or they'll say, no, you shouldn't do this. And what I've learned to do is to turn that no around from, no, I shouldn't do this, to new orientation. So maybe you told me no, maybe you're not the right person that I should be asking. Maybe I should be asking somebody else. And so when you take that mindset into perspective, you find the strength to continue to push forward and to chase after your dreams, even if you don't achieve them.
That's right. That's right. And just go back. And if you find yourself in that situation, reach out to people that can tell you their stories. Go back to history and look at how many times politicians failed in their elections and they reran and they finally won. How many, entrepreneurs tried different businesses until they hit it. Look at J.K. Rowling's story. How many people rejected her manuscript of Harry Potter?
And we're going to have to leave it right there because we got to run to a break, and we'll be picked up on the other side.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
This report brought to you by Jiffy Lube Signature Service. Not just an oil change, Jiffy Lube checks vital fluids, tire pressure, lights, wipers, even vacuums the interior. Pope Francis is due to arrive this afternoon at Joint Base Andrews and be welcomed by President Obama. Security will be tight, and commuters are being urged not to drive into the district while the Pope is in town. He'll address Congress on Thursday morning before leaving for New York. The long-awaited Silver Spring Transit Center is a success. So far, commuters happy with the convenience.
To actually be able to use it because it just looked a mess for so long.
The 3-level facility operated well yesterday, its first work week test. The transit center was supposed to open 5 years ago and cost tens of millions of dollars less than it ultimately did. Police make an arrest for shooting death in Alexandria. They did not immediately release the victim's identity. The suspect, Freddie Bonilla, is charged with murder for allegedly killing his roommate early yesterday morning on Havenwood Place. Secret Service Director Joseph Clancy is apologizing to Cure Fest for Childhood Cancer after the group was booted out of Lafayette Park. Clancy told organizer Mike Gillette the Secret Service did not handle the situation well on Saturday night. Parents and cancer-stricken children were told to stop their candlelight vigil and leave the park next to the White House for security reasons. The series opening game between the Orioles and the Nationals was rained out. The game was made up on Thursday, which was supposed to be a day off. The Mets won last night, so the Nats trailed by 6.5 games. After allowing 351 passing yards and 3 touchdowns to Oakland, the Ravens have acquired cornerback Will Davis from the Dolphins in exchange for a draft pick. Davis is coming off an injury. Today is the annual car-free day in the D.C. area. Commuters are being urged to leave their cars at home and use public transportation, car or van pool, walk or bike. This report brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life. Commitment, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. I'm John Lewis. When you're looking for news from Black America, go to newsone.com.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Beyond Just Talk with S.L. Young. Today we have our featured guest, Bela Gandhi, who's on, and we were talking about fear prior to the break. And I don't know if you wanted to sort of pick up where you were after the break, prior to the break, where you were talking about the impact of fear and how you were giving some examples of individuals who push past their fears.
Yeah, what I was saying is if you find yourself sitting in your seat thinking about potentially starting a business or, asking someone on a date or whatever it is, go back and read things that will inspire you and find lots of stories, because I promise you somebody's story will resonate with you and it will get you out of your chair and it will allow you to take that first step. Doing anything big, scaling a mountain, nobody scales a mountain like Superman in one fell swoop. It is one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. So if you need to get past that fear, find a positive village, read things, get people around you that will support you and tell you you can do this.
Right. Positive support systems are important. So when you were starting to develop your business, the Smart Dating Academy, what did you do to minimize your risk? Did you have a team around you? Did you do research? How did you move forward?
Yeah, I had all of the above. I have my close village of people, a family of friends really telling me, look, you have done a lot in your life, Bella. Don't be afraid of this. You can do this. We know when you put your mind to something, you can do it. So that was great. And then you have to get rid of the toxic naysayers in your life, people that bring you down, that are the energy sucks and vampires. You don't need to talk to them about your future plans. You want to surround yourself with people that are going to fill you up with rainbows and unicorns and give you good, solid advice along with that.
Right, and I think that's very important. So what need does your business meet or fulfill?
So we do something that's really fairly different than what's out there right now. In the dating world, it's over, it's a $2 billion industry right now. So the niche that we have decided to create and fill is really what it's date coaching and consulting. Mm-hmm. So while you can get out there and get on an online site, you can hire a Yenta to kind of put you together kind of old style with someone who meets all of your criterion. What we've done is taken a step back and taken a survey of everything that's out there, and we teach people how to become their own matchmakers. We teach you what roadblocks are in your way, what mental speed bumps, what's holding you back. Are there things that you're doing well and not so well? And we help you to build your confidence and really reconstitute who this person is that's going to make you happy. I can tell you one of the mistakes people have is they come in with the wrong checklist. So we help to write that checklist, number one. Then we hold people's hands after teaching that through the process. We have a photo studio in Chicago. Our clients fly in. 50% are out of state, so come one, come all. We have a great photo studio. We get you the right photos that you're going to need for dating apps and for online sites. We have writers that write your profile so that they look like and sound like the best version of you, smart, happy, confident, and positive. And then we have coaches that hold your hand through the process, like personal trainers would for getting you fit. That's what we do. Every week we are goal setting and saying, what you going to do this week? Next week we touch base. How did that work out for you? How was the date? What about these 3 new people in your inbox? What about going to these events? And we keep you motivated, because dating, like we talked about highs and lows, dating is filled with highs and lows. And having that expectation, knowing that that is going to exist, we help to celebrate your victories and help to gently pick you up when you've had a bad date.
Well, so one of the things that I thought was interesting that you, the term that you used was a personal trainer. You know, I think that's a great reference point, a personal trainer for dating. We have trainers for a lot of different areas of our life. Why not have one for dating as well? So a quick question for you. So how does your company approach finding relationships for men versus women? Is there a difference?
You know, there's obvious gender-based differences, like what we'll tell men to do, what great behaviors on dates are, can differ a little bit than how we counsel women and what foot you want to put forward with regards to who you are and how you want to talk about yourself. But other than that, Sly, finding love, it comes from the heart, and it comes with getting your head in the right place. So there's more similarities. I'd say if we put a Venn diagram together of men and women, it's more, our process is 80% similar.
That's interesting, because I often hear these shows where folks are talking about, well, it's such a difference between men and women. You know, women are often more emotional. Men aren't as emotional. Their approach to dating is different. But what I'm hearing you say is that a lot of it is pretty much the same.
A lot of it is the same. Number one, you've got to make sure, look at your dating patterns. What are they? Lots of people that come to our practice have been chronically dating unavailable people that are not good for them. They could be physically unavailable,
or emotionally
unavailable, right? Or they're just not getting what they need out of a relationship. People, you know, have chronic patterns of being attracted to narcissists, incredibly selfish people. So we help, and that a lot of that comes from what we saw at home or our early dating experiences. So that's very similar for men and women. We see the same patterns on both sides.
Well, I think that's an important point that you just made. So let's back up for just a moment, because you said that some of the folks that are coming in, they have bad dating habits or patterns. But what you said was a lot of it stemmed from things that happened at home earlier in their life.
That's right. That's right. So
yeah.
Let's say if you had one parent who was like, maybe a parent wasn't available. Maybe they abandoned you as a child. Maybe they had substance addiction problems and they were inconsistent and volatile and very critical towards you growing up. We internalize a lot of that trauma, right? And we develop really high coping mechanisms. And then what happens? Because you know how to cope with something and you know how to deal with something, it becomes comfortable. Dysfunctional, yes, but comfortable also. And as human beings, we seek out what is comfortable to us. We don't always seek out what is intellectually or emotionally right for us. It's like that old sweater. Well, I know it looks kind of tattered and beat up, but it's comfortable. And that's how we approach our relationships. Oh, I'm feeling butterflies in my stomach when I met this guy. Why? Not because he's good for you. Butterflies are a very bad sign. They're a sign that your body is telling you, be scared, be fearful, be anxious. It's not excitement. So when you're feeling that, it just means this person reminds you of something bad that's happened in your past.
Interesting. A lot of times we get comfortable and we think that it's good, but but at the same time, when we get too comfortable, we don't necessarily push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, and we don't start looking at things differently. So I think that was a great point. So, it's good to change things up. So speaking of change, where should someone find a date outside of work, church, or the bars?
Look, I say to my clients on a daily basis, open your eyes. There are good people everywhere. And when people come in and tell me there's no good ones left, I said, there are. You're just not seeing them because you're looking for the bad ones because our egos want to be right. So number one, put your mindset in the right place. There are 107 million single adults in this country. 43% of the adult population. Be inspired. You are not alone. If you are a single adult listening in today, there are plenty of ways place to meet people. Besides what you said, at church, at work, at bars, at coffee shops, try technology, guys. This didn't exist 20 years ago. Thank God it does. There are great sites and great apps out there. Everybody, when I talked about being a personal trainer for your love life, I say real life is a great place to meet somebody, but online has to be part of your dating plan.
Right, and I know so many folks are afraid to go online because there's a perception that you're lonely, you're desperate, or whatever reasons. But in this electronic age, it should be a lot easier to meet people and find quality dates online, assuming that folks are honest about the information that's out there. So why are so many individuals struggling to find love?
I think people go into it. The mindset's key here, Sly. Like I said, if you think I'm desperate or I'm degenerate if I have to get online, how do you think you're going to do online?
Right.
You're not going to do real well.
You're putting the negatives out there.
You're going to put the negatives out there. You're going to write your profile in a negative way. You're going to look for people that confirm your hypothesis. See, there's a creepy girl. There's a bad guy. This is all that's out there. Delete, and you go into dating hibernation for 5 years. You have to start out with the right mindset. Good love is out there for me, and I deserve it, and it will come to me. That has to be your mindset. You have to change your mantra. You have to change your story about what you're telling yourself. And then once you have that mantra reset and you really start to believe it in your core, you can find this person online. You can find them walking down the street, walking your dog, because your eyes are open and you are feeling positive and you are putting positive energy out there, and people want to be around positive, confident, happy people.
Right. And so you were talking about, using technology to assist with dating. There's dating sites like eHarmony, Match.com, and a lot of folks are starting to use Tinder. Are those effective tools as well?
Absolutely. We average, at least 2 to 3 engagements a month, and 50% of those come from online dating and 50% come to real life. So if you're not using technology or you haven't had success using technology, then take a step back and say, hold on, am I doing this the right way? Because there is a right way.
And then, this is a question that actually came from a friend of mine. I won't say her name right now, but, how do you prevent or minimize the possibility of meeting someone online who's just looking for the hookup?
Read the profile, number one. Look at the photos. What do their photos say? If this photo, if your question came from a female and she's looking for a male, then I would say, look at what his photos say. Are there 5 photos of him with other women hanging on him, with, beers and, shot glasses in every picture? People put out there who they are, right? So look for the clues. Read what his profile says. If he says just looking for casual dating, that's not your man. You want someone who's looking for real and serious love. Read what he says about himself. If he says something negative and says, hey, you know what? I don't want any drama. So if you're full of drama, pass me by. That means I'm going to cause you drama. So there's all kinds of clues you can read for. You can become your own Sherlock Holmes and prevent people that are just looking for hookups.
Oh, okay. And then right before we go to break, why is that picture so important? Because that's the first impression that we're making.
That's right. Your photos, guys, are going to determine 90% of your success in online dating. This is your personal marketing in cyberspace. You got to step back and say, okay, this is me. If I was a box of cereal, how would I get picked off of the island? You have to look at yourself, and I don't mean that in a crass way, but we really have to look at this as our personal marketing in cyberspace. If there's 50 to 60 million people dating online at any given time, you've got about 0.2 milliseconds to connect with the person who's looking at you to not get skipped over. So your photo, you need to be looking right at the camera, big bright smile, high resolution, well lit, and dressed to impress in your photos.
And then what about adding video? Is video a good option to add to my dating profile? I'm not saying mine, but somebody's.
If you are a well-spoken person and you come off well, so Sly, if I was talking to you, I'd say absolutely you should do a video. You're well-spoken, you're animated, your hands, but if it gives you anxiety and trepidation and you feel like video isn't going to be good for you, then don't do it. Know who you are.
All right, well, that sounds good, and we'll leave it right there, and we'll pick this up right after the break.
News updates on the web at WOL DC News.com.
Good morning. This WOL traffic update is brought to you by Preparation H. Northbound in the 3rd Street Tunnel, the ramp to Massachusetts Avenue is still closed because of repairs to a retaining wall after some equipment did some damage earlier this morning. Massachusetts Avenue Northwest closed until Thursday between 34th Street and Rock Creek Parkway, waiting for the arrival of the Pope this afternoon. Get effective relief from the burning and itching of hemorrhoids with Preparation H medicated wipes for women infused with refreshing cucumber, chamomile, and aloe. Use as directed. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Horseshoe Casino Baltimore. For today, cloudy skies, a chance of a shower high near 75. Gradual clearing overnight down to 59. Tomorrow, sunny day and high near 81. Guy Fieri's Baltimore Kitchen and Bar at Horseshoe Baltimore. Specials daily 5 to 7 p.m. Know when to stop before you start. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. Steve Hirschhorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Beyond Just Talk with S.O. Young. My featured guest today is Bela Gandhi. You've probably seen her on the Steve Harvey television show, and she's providing us with a lot of great information about relationships. So as we continue on with our conversation, are there strategies for finding a relationship different for in-person versus online introductions?
Well, yes. If you're going to go, let's talk about in person and how you're going to meet somebody. If I understood your question correctly, it's how do you meet somebody in these days in real life? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So number one, you have to be open and receptive to meeting other people in your heart and in your soul. Because if you're not, guess what? You're not going to look up. You're not going to smile, and you're not going to look approachable. And if you don't look approachable, guess what? People are not going to come up to you and make conversation with you. You have to make eye contact with people. You have to be what I call socially generous, wanting to talk to people. Look for what's good in people. Look up and smile. If people aren't walking up to you to talk to you, you might not look very approachable.
Interesting. And now that we're talking about dating, a lot of time we think about the picture, the profile, how do we go about it, whether we're doing it online or offline. But another important consideration is safety. So what precautions should be taken prior to going on a date for the first time?
Number one, you should always talk to somebody before you're actually going to go out on a date with them. So lots of people today in the world of Tinder and in the world of Match.com and these other sites, you go straight from email to text to the date. Take a step back. Do not do that. Talk to somebody on the phone. I will tell you, crazy people cannot keep crazy in the closet for more than 10 minutes. And if somebody is crazy, you will know it on the phone. And how? Listen to your gut. Your gut will tell you, something is off. Now, if somebody's not a great conversationalist, that doesn't mean, if the person doesn't sound that exciting, that's not a red flag to your gut. But if they sound negative or hostile or anything like that, you're going to have saved yourself some disappointment, any potential safety issues and heartbreak. So talk to somebody on the phone before you go out on a date. And another great piece of advice that we have all of our clients do at Smart Dating Academy is get yourself a Google Voice number. That way, what it is, Google Voice is free. You can just Google Voice, and it's an internet phone number that ties to your cell phone, so you don't have to give out your real cell phone to people. Today, people can go online and Google your cell phone and potentially find out where you live and a whole lot of other stuff about you. So get yourself a Google Voice account, and that way, if somebody starts, being untoward or texting you 75 times a day and you want to get rid of this person, you just change your Google Voice number and you don't put yourself in harm's way.
Right. And then what about that first date? Isn't it important to make sure that you do something in a public place?
Always. Never, ever, ever go into a neighborhood that you are not familiar with or a place that you are not familiar with. And certainly do not go to somebody's house on a first date to pick them up. This includes safety for men, guys. Men are not immune to this. I had to go on Fox TV a couple of weeks ago to talk about a story about a man in Chicago that went over to pick some woman up who said, come up here to this apartment and come and get me. And he was met by 4 gentlemen. So you don't want to do that in today's day and age. Your goal is to keep yourself safe. Somebody has to earn that from you to go over there and pick them up.
Right. And so are the considerations for women different than for men?
Women are always going to be more at risk than men. So always meet people in a public place. And my suggestion is don't go over to each other's houses until you're in a committed, exclusive relationship. And that's 2 to 3 months down the line. Keep yourself safe.
Exactly. And then, so what information should be shared with friends or family members before going on a date with a stranger?
Look, you can, we've got clients that will call friends, call family and say, hey, you know what? I'm supposed to go out with this guy and we're meeting at this place, and just know that, so the more information you give people, the better. Then we can keep track of you.
And then earlier we were talking about the dating profile. So what tips can you offer on setting up a good dating profile?
So number one, we touched a little bit about photos. So let me, like I said, your photos are going to determine 90% of your success. So you should have anywhere from 5 to 7 photos in total. Headshot is going to be your most important shot because that's the thumbnail that somebody's going to see when they decide to click on you or not. So looking at the camera, smiling, that's key. But then behind that, with those other 5 to 6 photos, what you're going to have to do is have some head-to-toe pictures and have some more headshots. Okay? And dress to impress in the photos. You don't want to look schlumpy and dumpy in these photos. And no, you're not going to look like you're trying too hard. Everybody likes people that look good and are dressed well. But remember, your photos should be no more than 1 year old. I know everybody thinks they don't change year over year, but let me tell you this, you do. Maybe our hair color changes. We have different glasses, whatever it is. We gain a little weight. We lose a little weight. We all age a little bit year over year. So make sure your pictures are fresh and they look like the best version of you. And that version of you needs to show up on the date.
Right.
Because people want to date the person in the picture.
Right. And then what about the description?
So when you're writing your profile text, so now when you're talking about an online dating site, you're given free reign to write as much as you want. My suggestion is write anywhere between 175 and 300 words max. You don't want to write 1 or 2 sentences, and you don't want to write your personal manifesto. Keep it short, keep it sweet, but make it interesting. Instead of saying, I'm adventurous. Okay, great. Adventurous might mean, you want to try the new Ethiopian restaurant down the street. And for some people, it might mean, I want to go hike Mount Kilimanjaro. So talk about what adventurous means to you. We have clients on both sides of the spectrum. So thinking about adjectives that you want to list, but instead substitute it with a specific example. Show, don't tell in your online profile.
I love that. Show, don't tell. I think that's a great advice. And then, so we've talked about the things that should be included in a dating profile. What shouldn't be there?
Pictures of other people. Everybody knows you have friends. You don't need to have pictures of 7 other women, in blue bridesmaids dresses, so the guy can't even tell who you are in the photo. And same thing for guys. We don't need to see pictures of other people. You are the product in cyberspace. We certainly don't need to see your kids. You don't want to put your kids in jeopardy and put them on online dating sites. So keep pets, keep babies, keep other people out of your photos. And please, no selfies, no bathroom selfies. I feel like every time I say this, I'm telling people something they already know. And I get on an online site with the client and there's 10 other selfies. Do not do the mirror selfie. Make an investment in yourself and get some good photos taken. If you can't afford to hire a professional photographer to do a good photo shoot of you, get a friend that likes to do photography and dress yourself up and take some good photos. You want to stand out.
Right. And then so let's go back to the dating process again. So are there questions that someone should always ask while selecting a date? So we were talking about have a conversation, get to know them, see if there's any warning signs. But are there any key questions that should be asked?
During the first date, Sly, I always say keep it easy, breezy, and light. You're there to kick the tires and to see if there's a connection. And even if you're not blown away on date 1, but the person seems nice and you were attracted to them even a little bit and they seemed like a good person, give them another chance. Remember, that's not leading somebody on. You're looking to screen people in. So if you think this person, it was an okay date, it didn't blow me away, give him another date. Because in all the stories that I can point to at Smart Dating Academy of happy love, engagements, not one started out with, oh my God, I just met the love of my life on date 1. Okay. Love takes a while to develop. Let it grow. Don't throw people back to the pond too fast.
And one of the things I forgot to do when we came back into this segment is to give you an opportunity to talk about your company and give your website information.
So we are Smart Dating Academy, again, a full-service date coaching company where we hold your hands and help you to dip your toe back into the dating pool from A to Z with total support. Our website is smartdatingacademy.com. You can friend me on Facebook, Bela Gandhi. You can like us. I would love a like on our Smart Dating Academy Facebook fan page. You can follow me on Twitter at Bela Gandhi Love. You can follow us on Instagram at Smart Dating Academy as well.
All right.
And we've got a YouTube channel, so you can watch lots of great videos. I do approximately, 2 TV segments a week, always with new, and it's all free and lots of great dating advice. Subscribe to Smart Dating Academy on YouTube.
Okay, and then as we start to run out of time, a couple of quick questions. So if the date was good, how should someone follow up and how soon?
Okay, so if the date was good, and now I told you dating advice for men is a little different than women. So guys, if the date was good, wait 24 hours and then give her a call to set up another date.
24 hours.
Yeah, don't wait 3 days. Don't wait 24 minutes.
But I've always heard like a day is like too soon because it seems like you're too anxious. You should wait at least 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, no, that's old school now. One day. The dating world moves fast. Okay? People are Tindering, they're swiping, they're matching, they're eHarmonying. You want to call the next day. And then, again, if you think the date went well, also say, did she look like she was into me? Was she making good eye contact? Did she seem interested in me? And if you were getting all that good vibe and good signs, then ask her out the next day. Don't wait.
And real quick, so if the date wasn't good, how do you politely terminate the date or the relationship?
So if the date wasn't good, you can just say, hey, it was great to meet you, give it a hug, and move along. Don't say I'll call you because you're not going to.
Well, that's great advice, and I think that's a good place to wrap it up today. I really, really appreciate all the advice. I'm sure there's folks out there that are listening right now that are saying, all right, now I've got some additional clarity on how I go about this, some smart things that I should do, and ways to maintain my safety while also having fun. So thank you very much for being on the show. All right, folks. Yeah, real quick.
I was going to say, sign up in our database. We do all sorts of webinars where we show examples and we go in real deep. We're going to be announcing our October, November, December webinar dates soon. So go to smartdatingacademy.com, sign up for our database, and you will get that information. And I promise you it will help your dating life.
All right, great. We'll leave it right there. So I hope that you enjoyed today's show. On next week's show, my guest will be Dr. J. Philip London, who is the executive chairman and chairman of the board of CACI International Incorporated and the author of Character, the Ultimate Success Factor. Remember, your candle is fueled from within, so don't let anyone reduce or block the fuel to maximize its brightness. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until next time, my friends, have a good one.
1450 WOL.